Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Miss Smithies and I'm here today to talk to you about the books I currently have out of the library. I thought it would give you a good insight into my changing tastes and the kind of things I like to read. I live in Nottingham in England and all the libraries are interconnected, so you can go to any library in Nottinghamshire and get out a book with the same card. And obviously that means that I like visiting all the different libraries, and I'm always like excited by what they have. So I have got like the max amount of books, which turns out it's not 6, which is what I was told as a child. I was told you can only get 6 books out of the library. It's 24. So as a result, I have a big bag of books. This is where I keep them. I got the bag from the library. It says, I ransacked public libraries and found them full of sunken treasure by Virginia Woolf. I do tend to read some of them, but I'm not gonna lie, most of them go back unread at the end of their time. I just like having them in the possibility pile. They're books that I'm interested in, and I know that if I don't read them this time, I can always go and get them again. It's not the end of the world. So I'll talk to you about the library books that I'm currently reading in the middle of. And the first one is Crudo by Olivia Lamb. This is set in the summer of 2016-17, kind of just after Brexit and the referendum. Europe is on fire, and our protagonist, who kind of talks about herself in the third person, even though it's kind of written in the first person. Very interesting choice that was. I quite like it. She's on her pre-wedding honeymoon with her soon-to-be husband in Tuscany, and it's kind of a lot of social commentary on the kind of rich people that are in this, I don't know, hotel villa, and their conversations that she's listening in on, and the state of the world and internet culture. I'm really enjoying it. And then I have just found in the library, because I went to a different library and they had a big graphic novel section, and I quite like a graphic novel, and I found Speak, which is, I'm not very far into it. It seems to be about maybe a sexual assault. It's based on the author's real life experiences, and it was published, I think, in the 90s as a novel, but more recently turned into a graphic novel with the help of Emily Carroll. So this is Laurie Hulse Anderson. I think it's meant to be set in America because they're calling things like high school and phys ed, but it's totally applicable to people everywhere, I think. And it's all about how the main character feels silenced and out of control with her life, and you can tell straight away that she is not in a good place. Enjoying is perhaps the wrong word, but I am finding it a really interesting read. Then another book I borrowed from the library is The Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. I read earlier this month You've Got a Friend in 10A by Maggie Shipstead. Is it Shipstead? Yeah, it is. And I loved it. I found the short stories, they were just so impactful and intricately layered in such few words, and I just thought, if that's what she can do with a short story, I'd love to see what she could do with a full-length novel. And she has one that, when it was big a few years ago, it was big on Bookstagram. You can follow me over there as well, I'll link it in the description. Everyone was raving, they were like, this is the best book of the year, this is the most amazing book I've ever read, and I thought, how many pages is it? Let me just look. Like almost 600 pages, and I was like, I don't know if I can read a book that's 600 pages, you know? It's pretty big. I don't know if it's gonna hold my interest for that long, but I have a feeling it will, so I got it at the library. So one I got out the library, on its own during Pride Month when I went in for work. I work as a support worker for adults with disabilities, and I was introducing them to the library. I wanted to get the girls set up online so they could borrow audiobooks and listen to them at home, but one I found while I was doing that is Becoming Ted. I don't know much about it except it's kind of like a queer coming of age in later life. And I don't want to say later life. Oh no, he's already out and proud, just getting in the blurb, which is what I probably should have done to begin with. It says that Ted's husband leaves him, and so it's kind of like still a coming of age, but more coming into yourself after losing a relationship, which I love. I loved The Split by Laura Kay, which also was about the end of a relationship and kind of finding yourself. I just thought it was good vibes, and the rainbow cover makes me feel like it's going to be a bit lighthearted, which I like. I mean, I like sad and sorrowful as well, but sometimes you want a bit lighthearted. This is one I just got out of the library. It's How to Be a Girl, a mother's memoir of raising her transgender daughter. Now, I know there's another one that's more recent called Girlhood, which was also a letter to a transgender daughter, but they didn't have that. But I did see this one, and I just thought it would be good to know more about, you know, transgender children and, you know, how it is to support them. I don't have children. It's not in the cards right now, to be honest, but that doesn't mean that I can't become a better ally, and if I see, you know, if I go back to guides, how I can be more supportive of transgender youth. Then I found Peach by Emma Glass, can't read, so it's pretty rubbish that I'm doing a booktube channel. It just had on the back some interesting, you know, basically it's another sexual assault one, but it's really short, and I just was intrigued by the cover. I just was. Sometimes it's not that deep. Then I got Don't Let Me Be Lonely, an American Lyric, which I think is a collection of poetry. It was in the poetry section of the library anyway. I've really gotten into poetry this year. By the way, if you just heard that noise, it was my washing machine finishing. And so it says, Don't Let Me Be Lonely, award-winning poet Claudia Rankin explores an America ever more unable to process its own toxins, from medicated depression to racial tension, suspicion and fear. Written in the years after 9/11, this is an unflinching and deeply felt meditation on life and death in a nation of flux. And it just sounded really good, something to put in my bag for my journey to work. And it seems to be, it's got some pictures in it. I don't know, it seems to be very mixed media, and I'm excited for it. I don't know if you're going to be able to see the stack that I'm making. Then I also got White Girls by Hilton Als. And it says, White Girls is about, among other things, blackness, queerness, movies, Brooklyn, love, and loss of love, AIDS, fashion, Basquiat, Capote, philosophy, porn, Louise Brooks, and Michael Jackson. Freewheeling and dazzling, tender and true, it is one of the most highly acclaimed essay collections in years. I just love an essay collection. I love finding out about the author's own experiences and how they link into wider society. I just read a really good one called Girlhood by Melissa Febos, and I thought this one will kind of follow the same things, the same themes, but from an intersectional lens. Not that Melissa Febos's was, you know, not, but yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Then I got Claire Keegan Foster. I have heard Jack Edwards rave about this book earlier this year, and I read Small Things Like These in, I want to say I read it in January, but it could have been February. It was the beginning of the year, and I really enjoyed it, and I ended up buying it from a charity shop after I'd borrowed it from the library, and I just thought, you know, I'd like to read more of her work. I always find it really hard, like, when you're getting such a thin book and you're like, oh, what if it's not very good and that is so thin? And so it's nice to be able to borrow it from the library before I commit to buying it myself. Then I got Homesick by Jennifer Croft. This one was longlisted for the Women's Prize this year, and it was one of the ones that intrigued me the most. Like, family, sisterhood, it just sounds really good. I haven't gotten around to it yet. I really want to get around to it before it comes. I have to take it back to the library. Yeah. Another one, if I can find it, off the Women's Prize, was the Women's Prize shortlist, was Pod. People were very hit or miss about this one. Like, some people loved it, some people hated it. I just want to see for myself. I know Lena Norms loved it, but I know Savage Reads, it was the bottom of his shortlist. So, I don't know. I just think it'll be really interesting to read from a dolphin's perspective, which is not something I would have said when I was little, because I hated talking animals then, but I don't think this dolphin talks, you know. Then for Women Translation Month, I got Eleanor Ferrante's The Lost Daughter. It's the movie cover, but I don't mind, you know, it's the library, you don't get much choice, and I actually really like this cover. I've just heard Ferrante's writing is just so good and so lyrical, and I thought I might test it. I did then find, after I got this out of the library, I did then find the whole of her Neapolitan quartet in the Oxfam Superstore when I went to visit my aunt in Oxford. So now I've got that, so I think I'll read it next year. But I'll start with this. Also for Women in Translation Month, I got Bonjour Triste. Bonjour Triste. By Francois Sagan. Sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciations. I didn't think to look up online. I should have. I know nothing about this novel. The back doesn't really give a clue as to what it's about. I just see it all the time in airports, or not, I don't go to airports all the time, but every time I go to the airport I see it in the book section and I think, that looks good. I don't know, it's a cover borrow. I know nothing about it. I want to. You can't see the panel. Let me just... I don't know if it's going to be stable there. Another one I know nothing about, but it's translated by Anton Her, which everyone says is a really good translation, is I Went to See My Father by Kyung Sung Shin. I did read the blurb when I borrowed it, but it didn't give much away. I like that. I think it'll be kind of a slow meditation on just the goings on of daily life and probably seeing their father and what that means to them. So I'm interested. I'm actually gonna have to move it back. It won't stay up there. Another kind of just one that I just found in the library is Lullaby Beach by Stella Duffy. It's all about an English seaside town, and ooh, it sounds good. It sounds good. I'll read you the blurb. Growing up after the war in Westermere, an English seaside town, Kitty has been sheltered by her parents, but meeting Danny changes all of that. She decides to lead everyone and everything she knows to follow Danny to London in pursuit of glamour and opportunity, and sets in motion a series of events that will echo down the generations. Over 50 years later, when Kitty's body is found under her beach hut with a suicide note by her side, her great niece will help unravel the secrets which the family has kept hidden over the decades. I assume that's why I picked it up, because I'd never heard of it before. I kind of liked the cover. It wasn't giving much away, but it was interesting. I like a bit of yellow. I don't know. I was drawn to it. I can tell why. This one, I don't even remember picking up, to be quite honest with you. Okay, so it's a bit of Irish fiction, and it's called The Wild Laughter by Caroline Hughes. It just says on the back, a stunning piece of writing, razor sharp and shot through with Beckett-esque black humour. There's an exhilarating, archaic look at contemporary Ireland from one of the country's most exciting new voices. I think I must have seen it somewhere and then seen it in the library and just thought, yeah, why not? So yeah, it's quite short. Hopefully I'll get to it before it needs to be sent back. If not, I'll take a picture of it and store it in my little folder called library books so that I know it exists for some time in the future. This one I'm very excited for, and I can't believe I haven't gotten to it, because I do think about it all the time because I know I have it. And this is Swimming in the Dark by Tomasz Jędrowski. It's set in 1980 Poland, and it's a queer coming of age at a time when it wasn't accepted to be queer. This one I got because I want to read some Deborah Levy, and this is what they had. It's called The Man Who Saw Everything. I won't lie, I just picked it up. I just went, yes, this is Deborah Levy, or is it Levy? I don't know. But I really wanted to read some because I'm very interested in her non-fiction, but I thought I'd start with her fiction. They didn't have Hot Milk, which is the one that I was actually looking for, but that doesn't matter. I'll try this. I'll see if I like her writing style, you know? This one was another cover, and it's called Mothering Sunday by Graham Swift. I liked it. I don't know what it's about. It says March 30th, 1924. It is Mothering Sunday. How will Jane Fairchild, orphan and housemaid, occupy her time when she has no mother to visit? How, shaped by the events of this never-to-be-forgotten day, will her future unfold? Beginning with an intimate assignation? An opening to embrace decades, Mothering Sunday has at its heart both the story of a life and the life that stories can magically contain. Constantly surprising, joyously sensual, and deeply moving, it is Graham Swift at his thrilling best. So it was really a cover purchase, but I am intrigued by the synopsis as well. I'm probably gonna have to start a new pile now. This one is falling. Next, definitely another random choice from the library that I just saw and I was like, yeah, go on then, is The Image of Her by Sonia Belton. If I'm just reading this is it. So its tagline is, Stella and Connie have never met and never will. So why is Stella stalking Connie's every move on social media? I like the sound of this. I read a book called Adults last year, and I really loved that, and that was very much involved a little bit of internet stalking as well. And there's always more to it than meets the eye, and it's always very fascinating. It's thrilling. Adults was more of like an internet culture kind of just expose, but this sounds like it'll be more of a thriller, which I have to be in the mood for, but I do enjoy. Next up, I have been looking for this in the library forever, for like literally forever, and that is Writers and Lovers by Lily King. I heard a lot of hype about it on the internet. It seems kind of more like a Sally Rooney kind of love story than a rom-com, and I just kind of like that. I like real messy relationships at their finest, you know, so I'm excited for this. Next up is one I think I've seen floating around the internet but not really heard much about, but I liked the cover and I liked the blurb, and that is Sweet Bitter by Stephanie Dania. It's basically just like New York living life as a 20-something who doesn't have much money, and apparently there's a love triangle according to the blurb. Next up, I have picked up Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies by Maddie Mortimer. This was all over a lot of my favourite Bookstagrammer's favourites last year. I think it was, the Booker Prize 2022 longlisted. I feel like it was the Women's Prize, but it's clearly not because it's not got a fake sticker on the front that says so. But apparently it's very experimental in writing style, and I just think I quite like that. Like, I read The Poet, which was written in verse, and if that is anything similar, which I think it is, like, look, here's a page that has like writing like that. I just think I'm gonna find it really interesting. I think it's about a woman who is dying of cancer, but don't quote me on that. Then I picked up Salt Slow by Julia Armfeld. I read Our Wives Under the Sea in June and I loved it. I just thought it was beautiful writing and I loved the love story, so I thought I would pick up her collection of short stories just to see what kind of things she comes up with in the short form. Even if I don't like it, I'd probably pick up her next novel anyway, because I just love that novel so much. Then I got Ocean Vuong, On Earth We're Brutally Gorgeous. I've just heard how poetic and gorgeous the writing is, and I really love poetic and gorgeous writing at the minute. Like, I just love to be swept up in the way that they tell the story, even more than what the story is about. I think it's just the sentence by sentence structure and how moving and emotive it is that, you know, nothing can happen, but in a way I feel like everything does. It's just the kind of books that I'm really enjoying at the minute. If I don't finish this one before I have to send it back, I'm fairly sure my sister just bought it. So I'll still get a chance to read it because, you know, we live together and I will steal books from her bookshelf. So, not steal, borrow. I will give them back. And this one is called Homeland, a memoir of departure and return by Rebecca Mead. This one I saw in Waterstones at like Christmas time last year, and I thought sounded really interesting. And then, oh, sorry. Yeah, it was just my mum coming in. Filming in the living room. So I found this and I thought it was really interesting, but then, I don't know, like I wasn't confident enough to pick it up. Last year was my year of memoirs. I read like 10, and I really enjoyed all of them. So I thought when I saw it in the library, I was like, yes, this is my time. I'm going to pick it up, see what it's about. And then finally, you'll be happy to know, is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one, basically, every time I saw the advert for the TV series, I really liked the music, and I was like, I don't know if I want to read the book. Everyone's like, the interview style is so fresh, but I'm just like not sure. but then I really want to watch the TV series and listen to the soundtrack, and I thought I want to read the book before I do that, so I picked it up from the library. I'm now going to read Carrie Soto is Back, hopefully for a book club this month, if I get around to it. I think I have purchased it on Kindle on my phone. Not my favourite way to purchase books, but sometimes needs must, I guess. So I'll let you know how that goes. So that's all the books. If I just count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Somehow I've gotten 27 out. I thought the limit was 24, but it has let me get all of these books out. I can't count. I'll have to return some just to make sure that I'm definitely within the limits of the library. But I'll hopefully finish Speak and Crudo very shortly, and then they can go back. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please, if you enjoyed this, or even if you didn't, but you might enjoy the next one, give me a like, rate, subscribe, whatever you say at the end of these. Thank you so much for taking the time out to watch this video. I know it's not very good yet. Hopefully I'll improve, but it's just a bit of fun and I'm happy to be there. See you in the next one. Bye!